heat here in Worthington. Paycheck crossed the time of 1:19.5.
Do you have anything that y'all are planning to do race-wise to help prep Ruby for this upcoming race in October?
Sure, she's training right and having all of her vitamins, because I think those vitamins that Paycheck's been taking has been helping out with her performance. It was extremely exciting. I am out of breath. My heart has been racing for the last hour. Adrenaline just took over and we just ran. So I didn't even think about it, but keeping that bird in line. So.
Alrighty, any last words that you may have for me?
Go Ruby go, slow Paycheck slow. It's not over till October.
Texas is not short of culture and history, so it is not surprising that its people honor traditions generation after generation. In the crux of Central Texas, festivals like Luling's Watermelon Thump and Yorktown's Western Days celebrate the commerce and industries that allowed their towns to grow respectively. Nestled amongst such small towns is the Turkey Town of Cuero. Originating in the late 1800s, Cuero served as a trading hub for goods from Indianola, Texas to San Antonio, Texas. The Western Texas and Pacific Railway installation allowed for the fast transportation of goods from Cuero to San Antonio. Still, it wasn't until 1908, when Cuero established its first turkey processing plant, that Cuero began to blossom. With the introduction of the processing plant, local farmers shifted their agricultural means to raising poultry. Come time to send the turkeys to the processing plants, farmers paraded the gobblers down the streets of Cuero. Individuals far and wide came to watch turkeys trot en masse, so the town devised a festival to celebrate the new commerce.
Okay, so realistically, Cuero we didn't raise turkeys. We herded turkeys down the middle of Main Street because that was part of our industrial era back in the early 1900s.
Basically, back many years ago, like 90 years ago, Cuero was called the turkey capital of the country because they were producing a lot of turkeys. And one thing they have, you see the old historical documents and photos, you see thousands of turkeys being herded down the street in Cuero, ultimately to their demise, but they didn't know that, the turkeys themselves.
The turkey trot is what we had first, and that was, I believe it was from like 1912 to 1972. I'm not 100% sure when it started, but the chamber had noticed that, there was a big draw to watching the turkeys being trotted down the street onto the railroad cars or out to turkey processing plants because it was a big turkey farming community. So they were like, wow, a lot of people come out to watch that. So then that's when they decided to have a festival or the turkey trot around it. They had a coronation where they would elect a sultana and sultana. They had to dance, and it was very formal. Of course, very expensive to put on. So it wasn't every year. They didn't do it every year.
An estimated 30,000 individuals attended the first turkey trot in November of 1912. Corn littered Main Street in an attempt to guide the 18,000 turkeys to the processing plants. The festival featured agricultural shows, dances, games, a parade, and a carnival. Cuero successfully invited the Texas governor, Oscar Colquitt, to bear witness to the first crowning of turkey trot royalty. The turkey trot modeled their royalty after Turkish culture largely due to wordplay, as demonstrated in Eric McCowan's Ruby's Town interview with former Sultan Frank Shepard.
We're a turkey trot. Therefore, the people who rule theoretically over the turkey trot are Turks. So they are going to be sultans and sultanas. And so some idiot thought of spelling turkey backwards and Cuero backwards.
Well, it's that time of year again when Charles Carrault reports from a turkey town in Texas called Cuero, which once a year and with style gives America the bird.
From 1912 to 1972, Cuero hosted 14 turkey trots. Expenses from lavish balls to hand-stitched clothing, amongst other worldly events, limited the town's ability to host annual festivals. Archival newspapers from the Cuero Record indicated that the original turkey trot and all future turkey trots proved highly successful. Newsmen, Cameramen, magazine writers, and thousands of spectators flocked to Cuero each time the celebration was staged. Meanwhile, across the country, a town in Minnesota made its debut in the turkey world. Around the 1920s, Worthington, Minnesota coincidentally shifted its agricultural means from chicken to turkey. The town seized this opportunity as the demand for turkey dinners from November to December skyrocketed. With the Great Depression looming, Worthington sought to find a sense of community. E.O. Wilson, who helped produce one of the first turkey processing plants, had traveled to Cuero and witnessed the turkey trot. He suggested Worthington adopt a fall festival to celebrate the town's agricultural market, so the first King Turkey Day was held in 1939. King Turkey Day differed from the turkey trot. Individuals modeled their clothing after farmers and embraced the community with a free pancake breakfast. Like the turkey trot, King Turkey Day helped Worthington gain notoriety. However, as the years marched forward, so did the traditions of Cuero and Worthington. The towns were fatefully introduced by eager journalists who desired a competition in 1972. Each year, Worthington and Cuero selected birds that would later be known as paycheck and ruby begonia. The turkey with the fastest combined time would deem its representative town the turkey capital of the world and win the traveling turkey trophy of tumultuous triumph, leaving the loser with the circulating consolation cup of consummate commiseration and what would later be known as the Great Gobbler Gallop.
Rumor has it, what I've been told as long as I've been involved, is that in Minnesota, they had been doing the turkey racing, and they were called the turkey capital of the world, or they self-proclaimed turkey capital of the world. And so we were also the turkey capital of the world. There were two journalists that were involved, and they told the people in Minnesota about Cuero.
I guess they had a discussion, and somehow in there they came up with the wonderful idea to share or to compete for it. And so they have, it's a two-part festival. The first part is in Worthington, Minnesota, where they go up there and paycheck, the turkey from Minnesota, because nothing goes faster than a paycheck. Great Minnesota humor there. Basically faces off with ruby begonia, and that's in September. And then they take the second half, they record the results there. And then they take the second half and they take it down to Cuero, Texas. And then they, in October, they have the festival in Cuero.
I had started when I got involved with the festival itself. We didn't really have a good person we didn't have anyone that was raising them every year. And since we have to have one to race, it was hard to gather one each year, go and find one in the wild and that kind of thing. So at the time you could get the breed that we use from licensed hatcheries. So I started a little flock of my own that was not necessarily domestic, but kept. We have a selection day each year where we actually pick the bird we're gonna race from the group that we have. Usually there's 3 to 4 different birds each year that are the right age, and some of them are a little more temperamental than others, so you don't want to use them. But other than that, it's just keeping them each year and keeping them fed and healthy and exposing them to a little bit to humans, but not too much, so that they're not just completely crazy when it comes race time, but still spooky enough that they'll run down the road for us real fast. Just like a rock star should go. Some things just aren't meant to be. Oh, some things just aren't in the stars. Oh, sometimes it's plain to see you are who you are.
What bird do you think Ruby will be this year? Do you know the birds personally, or how does that work for you?
So yesterday evening we had a kind of, first encounter with our bird. He's about 3 years old. He's a crossbreed. That part I do know. He's pretty gentle, but has some pep in his step. There'll be another bird this evening also that Corey, who raises our birds, is bringing as well. It's whoever's going to be the fastest bird this evening.
I have met them, and my money is on the way I can describe it is the taller bird. That's going to be our Ruby Begonia. That is Ruby Begonia for this year and maybe years to come. He's the real deal.
Nevertheless, Ruby is still a turkey. And when they put her on the street today, she's going to act like a turkey. And turkeys are pretty goofy animals. The birds aren't hearing this, right? Okay. No one can predict with certainty what either Ruby or Paycheck is going to do today. So instead of making wildly exaggerated performance claims, I'll simply say, may the fastest and the sanest bird win.
My name is Doug Tate. I've been on the Turkey Day board for 10 years. I'm on my first time ever on the race team, so I'm undefeated so far. We race tomorrow, and I'm really excited about it. We've taken Paycheck out and ran some races with Paycheck. We have a very state-of-the-art Olympic, Turk Olympic facility that we raise Paycheck in. Paycheck has been doing daily runs and then strength training every other day. And then we have our person that takes care of Paycheck. He's a certified turkey massage therapist, and he gives daily breast and thigh massages to Paycheck.
I used to work in Worthington at the packing plant down there for 32 years, and I'm retired. I've been retired for 2 years now. And then I got a little hobby farm where I just raise a few pigs and chickens, and I raise the turkeys for Worthington Turkey Team. I had some turkeys out there, and one year they were desperate for a turkey. And I told them that I had one out there, but they could use it, but I would never let them know where they got it because it was so stupid and dumb, and it wouldn't run. And they took it down to Texas and Worthington here, and they used it, and it wouldn't run, and the kids just went out and petted the darn thing, and I said, don't even say it's my turkey. And then next year they said, well, you gonna get turkeys for us? I said, yeah. You want me to get a turkey every year? I'll get one. So then I started raising turkeys for them. And there's times I have 12 turkeys. I think I got 8 turkeys right now out to the farm place. And some are young ones and some are full grown ones. And usually when Paycheck is done, I just let him live out his life. And when he dies, he dies. Or if a coyote or a bald eagle gets it, I just get new ones. So when winter comes, these are not wild turkeys. These are kind of domesticated turkeys. And when winter comes, they are so stupid, they'll stand right in the snow and just plop down in the snow, and they'll freeze themselves to death. So I have to lock them inside the shed during the wintertime.
Mike isn't alone in his struggle of raising turkeys in the Minnesota climate. In 1985, Ruby and Paycheck were close regarding wins, with Paycheck in the lead by 1 race. Despite this, Congressman Vin Weber wrote to the director of the Center for Veterinary Medicine asking to grant Minnesota a waiver for the use of steroids on turkeys. While I realize that using steroids on turkeys is in violation of the Livestock Husbandry and Marketing Act, we in Worthington need a temporary waiver for the weekend of September 14th. I want you to know that this is merely a procedural waiver. Imagine the year-round climatic differences between Texas and Minnesota. Texas has rangelands for their turkeys to roam free and build strength. Our seasons are much harsher. Cold, rain, snow, and ice torment our turkeys and suck the veritable lifeblood out of them. Minnesota, therefore, deserves an equalization of conditions. Steroids are a simple way to bring fairness to our competition. Despite environmental conditions, Paycheck has won 23 competitions since the inception of the Great Gobbler Gallop. One thing is for certain in turkey racing, there's no telling what the bird will do.
So going into this, wasn't really sure what it was going to be like, because to be perfectly honest with you, I'm scared of birds. Birds of all sizes. And so my only thought was I'd never want to have to pick up the bird because their talons are massive. I don't know how to explain it. But we did practice with Ruby the week before the festival, before we went to Minnesota. you don't know what a bird is going to do. Like, you can try and practice all you want to, but the bird is going to do whatever it wants to do. So leading up to the race in Minnesota, of course, I'm anxious, sweaty hands, my heart is racing because I'm thinking, oh gosh. And I get to Minnesota and I'm thinking, it's just like a block and a half. Like, it's really not that far until you stand there at the starting line and you look down the 2.5 to 3 blocks that seem like the longest blocks of your entire life. And you're like, what did I just volunteer for? And then the bird goes. And then you just run behind him and you try to make noise and keep him straight and not touch. There's so many things that are happening. You're talking to the bird, you're blowing on the bird, you've got a shaker behind the bird and a hat trying to keep him from getting distracted, all the while not wanting to touch the bird. Because if you touch the bird, then you receive penalties, and that would be the death of you to receive a penalty. When we took off in Minnesota, man, we had it. Like, we were doing great. Paycheck, I don't know what Paycheck was doing, but then all of a sudden, Ruby stops right about the place where there is it would be like a food court area, stops to smell and look around. And about that time, out of the corner of our eye, all we saw was Paycheck and their team running. We always say it's not over until October. And so we knew coming back home, we wanted to win at home. Of course you want to win at home. You don't want to let anybody down. And we knew we only had to make up, I think it was like 26 seconds that we had to make up, which in turkey racing, you can do anything in 26 seconds. That's a touch, that's a picking up, that's a run into the crowd. So we knew we had to do it. So started the race off and it was just like what happened in Minnesota. However, there's a lot more pressure here in Cuero for you to win because Cuero, no matter what, has a winning tradition. And so he took off. And then Paycheck stopped and we kept running. And we realized at that moment we had him, but we kept running, and then you go across the finish line and you realize that Paycheck is nowhere near you. You know you have won, and it's the best feeling in the entire world. I cried real tears. I was so happy.
Imagine that they've cleared a 4-lane, 5-lane street, including the turning lane. Everyone's on the side, road all down the side, and turkeys are in cages. They open up the cage, bird jumps out, and there's a bunch of people who try and encourage this huge turkey to go the right way down the street across the finish line. A decent amount of times, that's sort of what happens. And then sometimes they make a left or a right turn or just go anywhere. You know, that's, they might jump into the crowd. I've heard about, them making it to the tops of buildings. It's a little bit of mayhem. It's a turkey race. You're racing turkeys, and turkeys aren't really on the same page about racing as we are. They're having a different competition in their mind.
My dad was on the race team in 1979 and 80, and when he was in Minnesota on the race team, our turkey, Ruby Begonia, flew up on the awning downtown, and he was the one that they lifted up and threw up on the roof, and he got the turkey down. So we've always had some kind of excitement along the way with Ruby Begonia.
It's different. I've witnessed it from different angles. I've witnessed it just as a person on the sidelines to watch. I have been the cheerleader that's on the sidelines. I have been the parade marshal who held the flag and started the race. And it's different every time.
The parade and the turkey racing really brings people together, and that is one thing definitely unique about our festival is we celebrate with our sister city out of Worthington, Minnesota. So it's been almost 50 years of just friendship. We go there in September and we race our turkey there, and then we spend time at their festival, and then they come here, and it's just like it's almost a battle of who can be show the best hospitality. So definitely the friendships that it's made over the years.
I just think, we love people. We love to have people visit, but I feel like when we go to Texas, the hospitality blows our mind. Like, you always feel like when you travel to the other state, like, it's just like, oh my gosh, like, they're so good to us and so giving. And I just think that's what makes it fun, but it's the relationships for life. Like, yes, we're racing a turkey down the street. I unfortunately was on a team that we did not win one heat of the race. We did not win ever. We didn't even have that feeling for one of the events in the 2 years. But the thing is, it's the friendships and, the camaraderie and like just the lifelong like relationships. It's one of our favorite weeks of the year here in the community. It helps our small businesses. As a small business owner, like, it's just, we really like that it brings so many people into town, and it's just such a fun thing, and people come back that maybe haven't been home for a long time, and I think that's what it's about too.
But here's the thing, folks. Like many other newbies, I thought, we're going how many miles? 1,200 miles to race a bird? Are y'all freaking crazy? But then I went, and I do it again in a heartbeat. But here's the thing, like many of us newbie board members starting out thinking that this was the craziest thing ever, traveling 1,200 miles, we have made more friends and family than you can imagine.
I would say King Turkey Day is more than just a turkey race. It's a way to meet great friends from Texas and a great bonding experience and get involved in it. It's a lot of fun. It's just a great community event.
We're not just a festival. We're more of it's to the outside people, they think it's just a festival, but to the board and the direct race team, it's more of a camaraderie, like friendship, like we bond, and it's two towns that have come together and like sister cities, and it's friendships that have been made and kept over the years. And whereas, your local surrounding festivals are just a festival for the town, we are also that, but we're also hosting anywhere from 25 to 50 people from another state for the weekend and entertain them and show them a good time as well. It's just an amazing thing. Sorry. I just lost my dad in December. And just the outpour from them. I mean, we got plants, cards, Facebook messages. I mean, we're way down here in Texas, and they're way up there in Minnesota. And for them to even reach out, that just tells you what kind of relationship we have.
For nearly half a century, Cuero and Worthington's shared relationship with Gobblers provide two unique festivals. Like previous iterations of either festival, games, parades, and music are on display for eager festival goers. Perhaps what makes these towns so special are the relationships between Cuero and Worthington. The treasured friendships forged through the obscure practice of turkey racing remain long after Turkey Fest shuts down each October. And it's all because two birds raced.